And welcome back, everybody. Attorneys are gearing up for trial in Latah County, Idaho for quadruple murder suspect Bryan Kohberger. But in the meantime, more allegations about the defendant's past are coming to light. Kohberger, scheduled to stand trial in October for the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students last November: Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Zana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Prosecutors tied Kohberger to the crime scene through GPS tracking data and DNA found on a knife sheath near one of the victims' bodies. At the time of the murders, Kohberger was pursuing a PhD in criminology at nearby Washington State University. But before that happened, he had to complete his high school education online after leaving Pleasant Valley High School in Pennsylvania. A former administrator at the high school, Tanya Carmella-Beers, spoke about Kohberger's alleged history on the Idaho Massacre podcast, and she recalled one specific incident junior year that required an investigation. Kohberger was part of a vocational law enforcement program in the school district, and several female students reportedly filed complaints about him. According to the former administrator, several interviews were conducted with students and Kohberger regarding the incident. After the investigation, school staff reportedly moved him to a different vocational program. At the end of the school year, Kohberger decided not to return. While the basis of the allegations weren't disclosed, Carmella-Beers said on the podcast, quote, "What had him removed from the program, when I look back on it now, makes sense." Bryan, interesting facts, as we're always trying to understand the backstory to Bryan Kohberger, what a potential motive could be. Is any of that going to come into trial, though?
I think there's a very, very, very slim chance that it does. And I know that we had talked about this before, how you had looked up the Idaho law, and there has to be some sort of notice as to whether or not the prosecution wants to use it for the very specific aspect of motive. I don't think it's going to come in that way, because we don't even know the facts of this fully. But let's imagine the worst. Maybe he gets violent against women. Maybe he feels slighted by them and does something violent towards them. You know what I know he didn't do to any of those women? Kill them. And so if you're going to try to compare yelling or some sort of violent outburst to stabbing 4 women almost over a decade ago, I think it gets really hard. Where I do think it could come in is if he takes a stand and he says, I would never be violent to women. I would never raise my voice. I would never do this. Then the prosecution gets to impeach him and say, oh, you said never? Let me tell you about what you did in high school. So that, I think, is a very dangerous situation for him where he could potentially open the door.
Real quick, that could be revealed. So even though it's private right now, if he brings it into issue, that could be revealed in a court of law.
Yeah, it could. It would be good for impeachment. They'd have to have it on the ready, though.
So here's the thing, right? Whether or not it's admitted or not, for our purposes, we're trying to understand if he did this, why he did this. There's so much reporting about his interaction with women and what he's been up to. You think this goes to motive at all?
I definitely think it goes to motive. But remember, he killed 3 women and 1 man. So it's really odd that these, I guess, allegations about what he did earlier all involve women, and now he's killed 3 women and a man.
Well, boyfriend of one of the victims.
But yes, but the point is it's a guy. And, it's interesting why he killed these people, because I think everybody does want to know what could have instigated this whole thing. Did he see them somewhere in a restaurant? Did he have a past where he, had negative interactions with women? It's very odd that so far there is nothing explaining why this stranger, theoretically, would come in and kill 4 people in the middle of the night. And by the way, not kill these other people who were in the building. So I think if we could come with some sort of explanation, it's going to satisfy, obviously if it gets introduced into trial, it'll satisfy the jury, but it'll satisfy the public as well.
And there's also a real possibility this trial goes on, and if he's convicted, we may never know why he actually did this, but we're not there yet. And welcome back to Law&Crime Daily, everybody. The young woman accused of killing her newborn in a hospital bathroom was in a New Mexico courtroom on Tuesday. Several motions were filed with the court. Alexi Treviso went to the hospital with back pain and says she didn't know that she was pregnant. Police body cam video shows a reaction afterwards with her mother.
I'm sorry. He came out and I didn't know what to do.
Lexi, I told you about this. I just asked you, baby, to tell me the truth.
It was not crying or nothing.
What did you do to it?
Okay, stop right here.
Stop.
Well, an autopsy ruled the baby's death a homicide, apparently dying from a lack of oxygen. Treviso was charged with first-degree murder and tampering with evidence. She's pleaded not guilty. Her defense team argues that it's the hospital's fault the baby died because of the medication they gave Treviso for her pain. Now, during the hearing on Tuesday, multiple motions were addressed. They included a request for a change of venue, a motion to suppress any information protected under HIPAA, a request to depose a forensic toxicologist on video, and a motion to change the conditions of her release pre-trial so that she can attend college in the fall. Treviso is set to go to trial in October. Let's break all this down. So, Bryan, defense files a number of different motions here. One was for suppressing statements about something, and I want to get this right, called Pena v. Espinoza, that case. What are they talking about?
Yeah, so the suppression is for HIPAA issues as well as in lack of Miranda. And what the defense is saying is, like all the rest of us, you can't share someone's personal medical information. Similar to like that of the Miranda warnings. You can't use those facts or those statements against a person unless you properly Mirandize them and they waive that right. However, like with Miranda, just as if in HIPAA, the issue here is probably the mother. If there's a third party there during HIPAA or even privilege information, you break that privilege. So officers can stand there as you're talking to your mother, explaining how you committed a crime or threw away your baby, and it works. The other exception as well is the hospital can give up your information if they believe a crime occurred. And they saw enough of the facts there to suggest that there was a potential homicide, and they can relay that to the officers. Now, the Pena case, that's just about in-camera review. They want the judge to look at this privately and then decide whether or not this information should go to the prosecutor or should remain suppressed, meaning never make it to trial.
Those are important issues, but Terry, my understanding is you feel quite passionately about the issue regarding the release, because you heard me say that it has to do with whether or not she could attend college. What's your feeling on her being able to be released or those conditions being changed?
So right now, the current conditions are she cannot attend the same school or talk to or be around her boyfriend, the boyfriend who theoretically caused her pregnancy. And I think the judge is doing that because he doesn't want them to talk to each other in case there's a case along the line as far as her trial is concerned, or perhaps he thinks, and this is one of the arguments that was made in the motion papers, that the two of them together may have conspired. Now, I think there is something inherently wrong with saying you can't talk to your boyfriend, you can't go to college. If she's out and she's doing other things, there are very limited release conditions. Why wouldn't she be able to go to the college where she was accepted? Why wouldn't she be able to talk to her boyfriend? It's as though the judge is saying, look, I don't want you talking to this guy because he also is involved in this crime. And there's no evidence to that effect. So I just think telling her she can't have a boyfriend that she wants is going way beyond something that a judge can order.
Okay, these are important questions as this case progresses forward in the legal system. And we're finishing today's show with a shocking new lawsuit from the NBA. The New York Knicks are suing members of the Toronto Raptors for allegedly spying on their team. The lawsuit is filed in Manhattan federal court on Monday. The New York basketball team accuses a former video director, Ike Azotam, of illegally obtaining and sharing proprietary information with the Canada-based Raptors. According to the lawsuit, that information included scouting reports, play frequency reports, a prep book, and a third-party licensed software. Azotam worked with the Knicks for almost 3 years before informing the team in July that he was leaving to work for the Raptors. Around that time, the Knicks claimed that the Raptors' new head coach, Darko Rajakovic, was a first-timer in the NBA, and their staff needed guidance on management. That's when they allegedly, quote, recruited and used Azotam to serve as a mole within the Knicks organization to convey information to the Raptors' defendants. The Knicks are asking for a permanent injunction on the Raptors, along with an undisclosed amount of damages for claims including breach of contract, misappropriation of trade secrets, conversion, unfair competition, and unjust enrichment. So what do the Knicks need to prove that this happened, Terry?
Well, I think they have an excellent case. In fact, it's a slam dunk, if you ask me.
Well, she beat you to it, Bryan. She beat you to it.
And I say that because, look, all the evidence is there. They have emails lined up saying, here's the information, here's how they work with other teams, here's their playbook. That is a trade secret. That's proprietary information. And so that cause of action is definitely going to prevail. I think they have a breach of contract claim against Azotam, and he had an employment agreement and it said confidential information must be kept confidential. He breached that. They have a tortious interference of contract by the Toronto Raptors, and they have a good claim for that as well, because what they're saying is, look, you interfered with the contract that we had with Azotam. So I think for those three main areas and the others that you mentioned also, the unjust enrichment, they have a really good case. The facts are with them.
Seems like a layup for the Knicks. No, but seems like a layup, right? In the sense, like, it seems like a pretty good case for them. I'm going to give you the chance to defend your Canadian,
my home and native land.
Your home and native land.
Yeah.
What could a defense be?
Right. I see your layup. I see your slam dunk. I'm going to step back behind the arc and watch this shot. Okay. I think for the most part, what it really is about indemnifying the people. If you could take Izamotam and say, hey, you were this rogue agent. You did all of this on your own. Because from what I'm seeing, he's got emails from his old Knicks email address, sending it to his new Toronto Raptors one. The thing that I'm missing out is the mole aspect. Who is sending him to go and do this? And at first I thought there was no way my Raptors are looking at what the Knicks are doing because no one really cares. But it's not the information about the Knicks themselves. It's about their proprietary information about other teams. So it made more sense to me. But if you could show that this was not done by the direction of anyone at the Raptors, but this was just a rogue agent, I think the Raptors walk away from this pretty safe and Azotam goes down on his own.
Real quick, is that a good defense?
No, I don't think so, because I think they have communications between Azotam and between the Raptors saying, you know, this information, we need it, give it to me, you know, so I think they're all involved here.
All right, this debate is going into overtime. That's my last one. Bryan, Terry, thanks for jumping in on this. Thanks for joining us here on Law&Crime Daily, everybody. We're going to see you next time as we discuss justice